Today we're going to talk about the endocrine system. We want to gain a greater appreciation for the diversity of functions of the endocrine organs and to learn about the unique structures of the organs as well as cells within the endocrine system to facilitate the variation that we see in their function. Thank you. Medical School Histology Basics, the Endocrine System. Hi, I'm Larry Johnson. I'm a professor at Texas A&M University, and today we're going to talk about the endocrine system. Now, the objective of today's presentation is to appreciate the diversity of functions of the endocrine system and to recognize the different organs, the unique features of organs, and cells that make up the endocrine system. And here you can see a lot of that system over here. Here's the pituitary, hypothalamus is up in this region, and there's a reciprocal relationship between the pituitary and various organs of the body of the endocrine system. The endocrine system is one by which hormones are produced by a cell, and it goes into the bloodstream, and it interacts with cells with receptors that match that hormone in some target distant place. Now, the endocrine system is a collection of glands, and we can see the various glands throughout here that produce hormones that regulate metabolism, growth, development, tissue function, sexual function, reproduction, sleep, mood, and among other things as well. The endocrine system does get some help from other groups of cells, like in the kidney you have the erythropoietin that's produced to make red blood cells. So there are other informational molecules in addition to the endocrine system in terms of regulating body function. So here we see a host of cells. There's the pituitary, the pars distalis, the pars nervosa, the hypothalamus up here, which sends some axons down into the pars nervosa, or it has some short ones that interacts with a vasculature. First capillary network picks up these releasing factors, and the second capillary network distributes them to the pars distalis, where that affects the acidophils or basophils, that then in turn produces hormones that affects these other ones, and then these hormones produced by these other organs, or the testes or the ovary, feed back either on the pituitary or the hypothalamus. And see, we can see the pituitary here, the pars distalis, pars nervosa, pars tuberalis, pars intermedia. All these are different parts of the endocrine system. The pituitary, you have acidophils, basophils, and chromophobes are located there, and we will see those. On this particular specimen, we see the pars distalis out through here, the pars nervosa, infundibulum stalk, the pars tuberalis. So a detailed hypothesis is pars distalis, tuberalis, and intermedia. And the neural hypothesis, infundibulum stalk, medium mammis, and the pars nervosa. This particular patient had a carcinoma located in the pars nervosa. If we look at the pars distalis, we can see basophils, those are basophilic, blue in staining, acidophils that are red in staining, and chromophobes, those that do not like stain, and so you can't see the cytoplasm of them because they're not stained. Over to pars nervosa, we have herring bodies, which are swollen regions of the axons that are coming down from the hypothalamus, and you have a host of these pituocytes in there, which are support cells for all the nerves coming down. And the pars nervosa, here we can see herring body here and here, and as the nerves from the hypothalamus send down to the pars nervosa, you can see here they have these swollen portions of the axon would be where the herring bodies would be, and we can see herring bodies here and here, and in those herring bodies would be oxytocin an antidiuretic hormone, and they'll be affecting the kidney, the mammary gland, and the uterus. Again, we can see the herring bodies in through here, these structures, kind of granular things that we can see. So this is the pars nervosa, pars intermedia, that's coming through here, and the pars distalis. This is an artifactual space right here, but this is the cells of the pars distalis. If you look at those more closely, you can see some cells, chromophobes, that do not like stain. We can see some the acidophils and the basophils, the blue ones and the kind of red ones. You can see the chromophobes that don't like stain. You can see acidophils, which are red, or the basophils that are blue. And these basophils are the ones that produce hormones that affect ACTH, TSH, FSH, and LH. These hormones are produced by the basophils. The acidophils produce prolactin and growth hormone. So one of the organs that the pituitary affects is the thyroid. And here we see the thyroid. The thyroid has follicles. So these are follicles, and they're composed of follicular cells and a colloid. And the colloid is actually produced by the follicular cells. It's the extracellular storage of precursors to thyroid hormone. So these are the follicular cells in through there. We can see the rich vasculature as well. So you can see blood vessels in through there, and you can see the follicular cells that are in each of these follicles. And there's colloid inside there, and what happens is the follicular cells secrete the colloid, and it stores it in here as a proteinaceous substance, and then it's phagocytized and broken down to produce thyroid hormone. And we can see the capillaries in through there, the colloid, and the follicular cells, and in between there we can see a parafollicular cell. But so you have from the brain, from the hypothalamus coming down through the portal system that goes to the pars distalis. Pars distalis produce thyroid stimulating hormone that stimulates the thyroid to produce thyroid hormone that affects the target tissue for metabolism and what all. So we see the parafollicular cells, and they produce calcitonin. And here we can see the parafollicular cells, the ones that are in between the follicles, and they produce calcitonin. Calcitonin is involved in preventing absorption of bone. So what it does, it interacts with the osteoclast. The osteoclast is what breaks down bone, and it removes the ruffled border that allows it to have an environment that can break down bone. Calcitonin reduces blood calcium by preventing the osteoclast from eating up the bone. There's also an adrenal, and we see adrenal, another one of those organs. There are different layers, glomerulosa, fasciculata, reticularis, and the medulla. So this is the cortex and the medulla. As you see, the adrenal is sitting right on above the kidney. And so we can see these different layers. And again, we can see there glomerulosa, fasciculata. You see the kind of vesicles, the reticularis, and the medulla. So we have the capsule on the outside, and then the different layers for the cortex, and then the medulla. Now these different layers produce different things. Mineralocorticoids are in the glomerulosa. Glucocorticoids are located in the fasciculata. Adrenals, the androgens are produced in the reticularis, and then you have epinephrine produced in the medulla. So we've got the cortex, medulla, capsule, and things are draining toward a central vein. So blood comes in through here, percolates through there, and then out through the central vein. Medulla, cortex, and here's the vein that's taking the fluid out. So if this is a capsule here, blood percolates down through there. These are fenestrated capillaries, and then these are the cells, the cords of cells, are the fasciculata, reticularis, and glomerulosa, and so the fluid percolates down through there. These are chromaffin cells located in in the medulla. See the chromatin cells and through there, blood comes on down and goes out the central vein. Here we see some smooth muscle, endothelial cells, connective tissue cells. So these are the different. This is the medulla, where you have the maxillary vein draining the fluid from them, but the blood came in through here, percolate down through there, ultimately goes all the way. So here we see the this is the parasistalis, the thyroid hormone, and the adrenal are the ones that we've looked at so far, and we can see the pituitary is up here, the thyroid and the adrenal. Also, the thyroid has the parathyroid hormone, which comes from the parathyroid, which are embedded in the thyroid. So these, and there's two sets of cells. We've got the chief cells, and you have the oxyphils. The oxyphils, we don't know what they do, but they're interesting. Oxyphils have small, dark nuclei, but the big cells, nuclei far apart, as opposed to the chief cells, which produce the parathyroid hormones. Chief cells, oxyphils, rich vascular supply. You can see the endothelial cells and the red blood cells in there. Another specimen, we see the oxyphils and we see the chief cells of the parathyroid. Now remember, calcitonin was involved in removing the ruffled border, but parathyroid hormone stimulates osteoclast production, so it makes more osteoclasts. So parathyroid hormone stimulates the production of calcium, free calcium in the blood. And so every minute, 1/4 of the free calcium is exchanged with the bone. So there's a dynamic situation. Sometimes when you get hyperparathyroidism causes osteoporosis because it has too many osteoclasts. It breaks down the bone faster than it can be remodeled. Another endocrine organ is the islets of Langerhans that's in the pancreas. And here we have alpha cells and beta cells, and the beta cells are the ones that produce insulin. So we see these lighter staining area where you have the islets of Langerhans in through there. Here's an islet of Langerhans. These are pancreatic acinar cells in through there that we can see, and you can see a rich vascular supply in the island as well as around the pancreatic acinar cells themselves. And another organ is the testis. The testis produces testosterone with the Leydig cells. So these are Leydig cells, rich vascular supply in through their centrifugal and more Leydig cells in through there producing testosterone. And you can see a cluster of these cells. There's one cell, another cell, another cell. You can see their nuclei, and you see a rich vascular supply and the centrifuges around them. In the Leydig cells, they have lots of smooth endoplasmic reticulum, as we see here in this horse. There's a nucleus and there's a smoothie arm, and the mitochondria actually have a tubular type cristae, not lamellar, but tubular type cristae. You can see that the cristae looks very similar to the smoothie arm, except it's inside the mitochondria. Ovary is another source of endocrine hormones being produced. You have FSH and LH coming down from the pituitary, and that stimulates the ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone to maintain pregnancy. Pregnancy has occurred, and here we see the follicles. So these are follicles where the eggs would be, and then after the egg is ovulated, it makes a corpus luteum. These cells become luteinizing with luteinizing hormone, which causes ovulation to occur, and then luteinizes these cells that are lining the egg, the follicle, and that produces the corpus luteum. Here we see the corpus luteum also have lots of smooth endoplasmic reticulum, got some rough VR tuber type cristae as well, but you can see abundance of smooth endoplasmic reticulum associated with the production of steroid hormone. There's also a pineal, and the pineal has the brain sand, these sand structures that are in there, and then you have a lot of pineal sites in through there producing melatonin associated with circadian rhythm. And then also if you look at the blood supply, in the endocrine organs, there's two portal systems. A portal system is where you have a blood vessel between two capillary networks. And in every case, the first capillary network modifies the blood composition, changes the blood composition, and the second capillary network benefits from that local changed blood composition. And we see one of those in the pituitary, where the hypothalamus has short neurons that empty its contents in this plexus capillary network, and that releasing factors then go through this portal vessel to the pars distalis to affect the eosinophils and the basophils, and they indeed are the second capillary network. So modified blood composition up here locally, and benefit of that local composition change in composition there. Here we see the venous plexus for picking up those right in this area through there, picking up the hormones, and then the pars distalis, you see the rich vasculature for it to be able to affect the eosinophils and basophils into their first capillary network, and then the second capillary network is in the pars distalis. Likewise, the Ilex Langerhans has a portal system as well too. This is the acinar cells, and then this is the islet cells. And the first capillary network is in the islets, and the second capillary network is actually in the pancreatic acinar cells, that is the blood vessels they're in, because insulin stimulates and glucagon inhibits secretion of the pancreatic acinar cells. You can see it again on this one very nicely. And this is an arterial portal system as opposed to the venous portal system we see in the pituitary. First capillary network is in the Ilex Langerhans. The second capillary network is actually here around the pancreatic acinar cells themselves. So in summary, the functional endocrine system is a collection of glands, and we see a host of these glands that regulate metabolism, growth, reproduction, mood, and various other things. And we can see the pituitary here, adrenal, ovary, and we can see the pancreas there. A couple questions. We have the pituitary has little effect on regulation of hormone secretion from which of the following? Ovary, little as a lot. Adrenal cortex, a lot. Adrenal medulla, no. And so the answer is C. Calcium concentration in blood are affected by calcitonin from the thyroid? Yes. Reabsorption bone by osteocytes? They don't reabsorb bone. Parathyroid hormone from the parafollicular cells? Parathyroid hormone comes from the parathyroid, not parafollicular cells. That's the one that produces calcitonin. So the answer is A. Which region of the adrenal hormone produce match? The glomerulosa, aldosterone, correct. Fasciculata, cortisol, correct. Reticularis, androgens, correct. A, B, and C. We want to thank the various books that we got some diagrams out from some of these YouTube presentations. Thank to them. They're the source of any drawing that we have. I haven't read many of those, and so we want to thank those. Here's a butterfly in my backyard. I love to take pictures of animals, and this was a very beautiful butterfly that appeared in the butterfly plants that we planted. This is the end of medical school histology basic endocrinology system, and hopefully you're able to benefit from learning some of those things about the endocrinology system, the different organs and cells and structures and hormones that are produced by the different ones. If you did, I hope you consider subscribing to the VIBS Histology YouTube site, and to tell your friends and your colleagues and medical students in your school as well as other school about the website. Thank you.